Hey, welcome back to the channel. Daryl here, Sweet Hot Rods and Honey. It's been a while since I made a video, actually a few weeks, so let me catch you up on what I've been doing. I think the most recent videos I've put out on the channel were honeybee apiary related. I caught a couple swarms last week within a couple of days of each other, and they were nice big swarms. So I was happy about that, but let's get back to the 51 Ford pickup project. One of the things I hate most is Bodywork because I'm not that good at it, and this pickup is a challenge because it's been used and abused, beat up, rusted, dense, and I'm trying my best to get everything flat and even. I'm almost finished with the doors. I've got one door that on the driver's side, which is almost complete. Got a couple small spots, and this is in preparation of putting epoxy primer on. I've got the inside of the door ready. On this door, I had to put a bottom inner sill plate or sill, and that turned out okay. It's hard to see, but let me show you on this door what I'm going to do. As far as upholstering goes, I'm going to bring a panel down to the bottom of the door and up. So it's going to be more or less a square panel with some kind of design inside. And that will possibly end just below this this raised section. Door handle, window crank go here, and then maybe another panel up here. So we'll see about that. This door, I've got to finish sanding this inner part, and I had to do a lot of patches along the bottom of the sill, but I've got fresh metal there, got rid of the rust. And you can see where I spliced that in here. So I really want to finish these doors up today. I'm going to be sanding everything down, getting everything knocked off, get the rust knocked off, the surface rust, and smoothed out. As far as these grill parts, there are three, I call them teeth, that are in the grill. This is the lower part of the cowling, the grill, and this is the upper part. So this upper part is in pretty good shape. I got everything more or less leveled out. I've got to do a little bit more sanding here. And then we'll put another coat of epoxy primer on. And ultimately there's going to be then a high build primer on top of that, a urethane primer. So I'll finish sanding these. I've got to sand this down. This was in pretty rough shape. When I bought the truck, it was on the truck, but it was twisted. It was really torqued, and I had to put a couple patches on where the bumper supports stuck out from the front of extended from the frame. So I closed all those off and straightened out this cowling as best I could. But there's a lot of sand, a lot of work to do yet on this. But it's coming along. I think it's gonna be fine. Just a bunch of time. Again, I gotta finish sanding this. Epoxy primer. A few weeks ago, actually it was 2 weeks ago, the Carlisle Spring Show was going on, and so I went up and bought weather stripping that's gonna go on the outer edge of the door, both sides. I bought the window channel that's gonna be in here, the part that gets bent down. I got the window felts that go in the bottom part, and then a new vent window weather strip. And After I came home, I realized I already had a kit for the vent window. I didn't really have to buy it, so I got an extra one. On the body, the cab, I haven't done anything on the roof yet because I can't get to it. I'm gonna have to move it over to the open part of the garage. But here I'm trying to work on knocking out dents with a hammer and dolly as best I can, and then there's just a little indent, and then I'm getting body filler on to smooth it out. Each of the cab corners, the two rears, well, the driver's side, I put on a brand new cab corner. Let me go over here and show you. I put on a whole new section around that corner because it was rotted out, and then I had to put in the bottom plate that goes on the bottom side of that. So that was replaced, and then the bottom plate, I had to do a little patchwork on the bottom plate here. So that's sealed up. I put in a new panel over here that was rotted out, and that piece was actually left over from the top of the door sill bottom. So this was an extra piece, and that worked out perfect. So these bottom plates that seal off the cab, all four corners needed to be done. The top of the cowling here, it had nails in it, screws in it to hold down the I guess it's like a bushing, or it's a protective strip, so that when you open up the hood, it doesn't scratch across here. I covered that over. This is going to be smoothed out. So that's going to get sanded today. Had a couple dents here where it was knocked down, so hammer and dolly. Then I put a layer of body filler over top of that. That's got to get sanded. And these sides, I de-rusted everything. It was mainly surface rust, but it was pitted pretty bad up here. So got that fresh, clean metal, and then we put a layer of body filler over that. So there is a ton of sanding. And then on the dash, I got that all cleaned up. We're going to delete that hole where the windshield switch goes. We're going to delete the hole here that I don't recall what that was for. It's going to be right behind the steering column. That may have been for a choke, but I don't really know. So I'm going to end up putting light switch, windshield switch, wiper switch. I may delete this one too. This will be ignition. And this was ashtray cigarette lighter, so I'll probably keep this and put in an auxiliary plug, or I may delete that because I had a thought about putting in a custom center console up in the ceiling. So I'm toying with that idea. If I can fabricate one that looks good, I may go with that. As far as the interior goes, I may put in a custom headliner. It's got a headliner that is just plastic, and it covers everything, but it's not really that nice. So that may get covered, or I may not even use that and use plywood. So if I use the plywood, then there's a possibility I can try making that center console up in the ceiling. We got the gas pedal in place, and that's drive-by wire to the LS engine. It's not the best looking. It's not like the low car, which are really fancy, nice looking gas pedals. But this, I needed to use this in order to get the potentiometer to work with the pedal mechanism, and that's down in there. So the wiring harness plugs into that. We finished up this access panel. It's not the greatest job, but we can now get to the transmission if we need to. Lines for the transmission cooler, they're all set to go, and hoses are ready. So I'm at the point where I think I've got everything that needs to attach to the engine, besides the wiring harness, that's all ready to go. So I can pull the engine, get that out of the way, and then we'll have to weld in this swivel bracket for the steering. And that's gonna kind of go like that. So I needed to wait until we got the engine out of the way so I can weld that in. Over here on the driver's side, same deal. It's got surface rust and pitting, so I wanted to smooth that out. The fender is actually going to be, it's right around here, and that sweeps down. So this is exposed, and so we need to get that to be straight. This inner part doesn't really matter too much, but we're going to make that straight, make it all straight. These rounded corners are tough. They need a lot of work to get them nice, because we're going to have a clear coat over this black cherry color on the cab, and that will show up just about everything. Back here there was a lot of pitting behind the box, so I just want to get that cleaned up and then get that as straight as possible. That's going to be hidden by the truck box, so it's not critical, but still want to make sure we can get as much of these dents and imperfections cleaned up. Finished up the brake line in the back. We tied everything into the disc brake. So I've got a center connection point. We're not ready to put in the rest of the brake line along the driver's side rail, but that's all ready to go. I'll have to finish plumbing in the gas line. I've got everything plumbed up until this point. I've disconnected just to keep it clean, but that's got to go upside the rail as well, up to the engine. The gas tank, I have straps that I made here, but I'm going to also add a bolt onto the bracket of the gas tank just for safety, to make sure that that doesn't go anywhere. I want to mention a couple things about the body filler that I'm using. The yellowish filler, gold filler, is from this U-Pole Gold, and that UPO 745. That filler is it says it's lightweight, but it's pretty sturdy stuff. And once it's cured, it's a little bit tougher to sand out. It's doable, and I've used 40 grit paper to knock down a lot of the high spots on these panels. So I want to mention that, and I like it. It feels like it's going to hold up over time very well. But I'm almost out of that. So I decided I'm going to try this Evercoat Body Shop, and it's a little bit of a thinner consistency, and it does sand out a little bit easier. So it's a softer body filler. It's good. They're both right around $40 to $45 for 3 liters. It's not a full gallon, but it's I don't know. It's like 0.8 of a liter, 0.8 of a gallon. But so that's what I have. And that's what I've used on these other sections that I showed you. Now, I did see a video on a guy that was trying to thin out the body filler, and they ended up adding some lacquer thinner to it, just a little bit. It does thin it out, and I think it does ultimately soften the mix, and it ends up being easier to sand, but I think it may not be as strong and hardy as some of these tougher ones to sand. So I just wanted to mention that, and to keep that in mind. It's always good to know what kind of body filler you're going to use, and how hard it is to work with. The one thing I like this because of its hardness. The one thing I like about this Evercoat is that because it's a creamier, thinner mix, when you mix it up, it goes on very nice. So you can work with it just a little bit longer. It doesn't start to solidify as quickly. and it is just a nice, smooth, it flows out pretty nice. So just want to mention that. So I think I'm going to start by pulling the engine. There's no need to keep it in. It's kind of in the way of some things. I'll be able to weld in the steering swivel for the steering column, and then also the transmission mount. I've got right now I have like a surface mounted welded on nut that kind of holds up with a bolt, holds up both sides of the transmission mount. But I think what I'm going to do is put in a through bolt across the width of the frame. So it's going to be a 4 or 5 inch bolt. And that way it will be easier to take on and off, as well as it'll be sturdier and hold. So I guess I'll pull the engine. And then I've got to do a lot of sanding. Or maybe to eliminate pulling the engine right now, I might just finish these doors. I don't know. I'm undecided which direction to go. There's a ton of work to do on this truck. Here are the tools that I typically use for sanding. This takes a lot of meat away from whatever you're hitting. So I'm going to use this on my angle grinder to do some of the dirtiest rust. I've used it on the frame, and that's a good place for it. If you hit it on the body, it's just going to dig in extensively. So I'm going to use that on the, I don't know what's called, the door threshold, and maybe on the edge of the door frame, maybe a little bit along the edge here. But besides that, it's kind of limited to those things. I've got 80 grit on my palm sander, which I'll finish this off with. I'll probably use it on the part of the grill assembly. I can get it straight, but this is more, there's a lot of contours, so that's good for there. I've got this on my variable speed sander. It's 120 grit, and I use that to go over generally taking off and going down to bare metal. But I might use that down here as well as my block sanders. On this flat block sander, it's like a 18 inch, and it's got 40 grit paper. It takes material off pretty well. Like I said, the body filler, the gold body filler, it's still, even with 40 grit, it takes a while to get it down. And then of course, I've got multiple block sanders to get other tight spots. So that's kind of the tool set that I have, what I'm going to be using. I'm going to start attacking some of these easier spots. The more I sand down, the more I find dents and low spots. So sometimes it feels like it's a never-ending process, but the hardest part is getting started because I just hate doing this stuff. I'm going to be using a dust mask and ear protection. So also, well, this is dust mask and face protector, which I like with this wire wheel, because that thing just can sling some wire out at you and it's just dangerous.
I got mostly everything else already. It's got to do a little bit more sanding on this this vent window frame, but now it's looking pretty good. I just want to get it to the point where I can set it to the side, go on to the next piece.
All right, so this is, this edge is a little bit rough. Let me get an old piece of 120. We got some of these ripped up pieces from the disc sander. Go over these edges. Like I say, I've never done a body work that was professional. It was good enough for me, but it was not that great. But I'll try to do a better job on this truck. Just putting a lot of time into it, so might as well do a better, might as well try to make it good. All right. This door is pretty straight, even after I put these patches at the bottom. All right, so I'm going to set this to the side over against the wall, get it out of the way. But I was just thinking, when I pull the engine out, I want to put that out of the way as well against the wall. So I hope these doors are not going to be in the way. Well, I can always move the truck out away from that door. I've got to bring it out eventually out into this opening so that I can get to the roof. So for now, I'm going to get some cardboard back there and we'll move these doors back. Got one piece there. I've got a transmission I've got to get rid of. It's an old 350 I bought with another engine, and I have no idea what condition it's in. I don't know that I even want to spend the time on it or invest in a rebuild kit. I may sell it as is and leave it at that, but I just need to get it out of the way. All right, let's take this over. Let me flip it over. We'll take a look at the bottom before I see inside. Should vacuum it out more. Let me bring you over here and I'll show you. Well, I should hit this a little bit more with that wire wheel. But let me show you what I've done on this door. On the bottom edge, this bottom edge was entirely rotted out. So I got a patch, replacement patch panel, and that panel would have come up pretty high. I didn't really want to replace all this material, but I replaced it up to this first rib. And like I said earlier, the door panels that I'm going to put in the interior, they'll come down here close to the bottom. The stock, it was all just open. It was just metal with this panel. So I'm going to put the interior panels down to here, out to this edge, maybe up to this point where it's raised, or maybe make this panel flush with this and go up above here and do some kind of fancy-wancy thing. And so anyway, this seam is going to be hidden. So I wasn't real concerned about that. It's been spot welded, and I put seam sealer on it, and it is just fine. It's good enough. It's going to be hidden anyway. Normally, I don't like to just hide things, and you don't know what some of the other guys do. They hide bad things, but this is hidden, and it's not going to be a problem. As well, I bought new window regulator and new door opener for the driver's side because it was just messed up. So those two things are brand new on the driver's side. On the passenger side, I'm just going to put in a new window regulator because the window just wouldn't go all the way up. And I believe when I bought this thing, it had I don't know if they were I think they were plexiglass windows, and they just weren't cut to the same size as the stock window. So they never really went all the way up to the top of the channel. So that was kind of weird. So this door is almost ready to be put in mothballs for a little while until I get to the point where I'm ready for putting on epoxy primer and urethane primer. I've sanded everything down. I'm just going to hit this edge real quick with the wire wheel. I got the rest of it. It's in relatively clean. And the fold over from the door skin is in good shape. Down here as well. So this door is pretty decent. All right, let me hit the wire wheel. Before I set this door to the side, I use some OSPO rust neutralizer along the edge, and that's typically where you get a lot of rust. And then when I set the door up on end, I'm going to paint on the inside this edge with the same stuff. OSPO, and it's an it's a rust neutralizer basically. All right, so we got one door set to the side. I got my helper over there in the window somewhere. Where is she? There she is. Okay, let me paint that bottom edge with some of this formic acid.
And use some 120 on this drill piece and smooth out this bottom so I to fill in a couple dents. There's not a whole lot to do on this yet. There are a couple high spots. But they're not terrible.
So I found a few low spots. There's one big area right here, which is lower, and I'm afraid that would show up too much. That the door panel, inner door panel is not gonna cover up. I've got to fill in, so I got to fill that in with a little bit of body filler, some low spots here. This on the bottom side is not as critical, but I'm gonna fill this in. And everything looks okay. We gotta change sandpaper, get some new sandpaper. Over here, there's some, I guess they're rivet spots that are just low. I'll fill those in, as well as there's a couple small ones along here. And some here. And they're right at the in the visible area. So we'll get those filled in. And then Wait till that sets up. Sand some more. But the doors are coming along. I've got to sand in between where the window channel gets laid in here, as well as in here and where the felts go. That still needs attention too. So there's so much sanding to do. It's hard to get excited about this, but you know, it's all the fine details that make a good job. It's the prep work, not the paint job, that counts. It's been a long day of sanding, but I got a lot accomplished. We've got one door finished, two doors finished. I just have to go over this bottom edge a little bit. It's just a little bit rough. And there's a spot right here just below the hinge that I've got to put a little bit of body filler on and sand down. I decided I'm just going to go ahead and do the cowling, and that is basically done being prepped. There's a couple spots. I've got a little streak here. Oh, somebody's calling. And but it's been sanded down. It's not necessarily straight in this one side. I've got a little knockout, and I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I tried to straighten it out with a dolly and hammer, but it's just not budging. So that's still to be fixed. But I think I decided, based on the quality of this cowling and the other parts of the grill, I think I'm going to paint that either a satin black or a flat black, and I think that would look great. The rest of the car is going to be glossy with the clear coat finish, but I think I'm going to just make that grille and around the headlights, that's going to be flat black. So that should be interesting. We'll see how that turns out when the time comes. So yeah, I'm happy with these doors. I've got them smooth, sanded down in the lip, and on the inside of the lip, I intend to put some more rust neutralizer. So that should work out well. Now let me show you the rest of the truck here. So these parts have been sanded down, and they are ready for a primer. I've got the top of the back of the hood portion, well, not the hood, but where the hood rests. That's nice and straight. We've got this one dent taken care of. Kind of curious how that happened. Something probably fell on it over the years. And I had some rot on the top side of the windshield, which was on the inside. There were mice in there, nests of all kind of sorts, and so that the mice piss kind of rots that out. So as well as some water trapped in with whatever debris. That's still in work. I've got this side finished. And what I didn't do yet is sand this back end. So that'll be a few hours worth of work here. But I just wanted to show you what I've got accomplished, and without having the video going. It's kind of boring. The dash has been sanded down. I deleted that, the windshield motor switch. Got that hole deleted. I may keep this one for some type of switch. I don't know what, but lights, windshield wipers. I don't know what I'm going to do. If I put in vintage air, it's going to have its own control panel. And what I want to really do is delete this radio. This radio insert pulls out. I'm going to keep the grill here and put a speaker in there, but I want to take this out and just smooth that out. So that's a possibility. Everything else on the dash is going to stay as it was. So it's coming along. I'm pretty happy I was able to put in a few hours today to get these things under control. And so the next thing will be finish sanding, pull the engine, and then it'll be the hood back there I've got to take care of. And that's going to be plenty of work. But I think with this smoother, thinner body filler, that should make it a little bit easier. One other thing I'm working on, for the time being, I'm going to keep the Vortec intake. It's a truck intake because this engine, this LQ9 came out of a 2004 Cadillac Escalade. So it's got a truck engine, and I still need to make sure that these fuel injectors are working properly. And I'll have a video more of that. So let me finish up this one door, and I'm going to set it to the side. I'll set this cowling to the side, and then finish up sanding the back end of the cab. Hey guys, it's been a couple days since I started to sand and do all body work. And I did some more today. I just need a break. So I'm going to pull the engine, and I've got everything disconnected, I believe, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to lift it, roll the truck back, and I'm going to be putting the engine transmission over here on this side. I just hope. There's one motor mount bolt out. We get these things out of the way. All right, that's out of the way. Lost that one forever, maybe, maybe not. Oh, here it is. Okay. I think we are clear. Let's see. It's a matter of if the transmission lets me slide this thing forward. I'm keeping the cross member on right now, so that may have to come off. Keep rolling. All right, that's loose. Got the main weight off. Move this jack back over to underneath. I put it underneath the training. Okay, that's clear. Yep, clear. I think I'm gonna have to get a shallower oil pan. This one hangs way down too low. And I'll be catching rocks, whatever, ripping off the oil pan if I don't. I'm not careful. Roll back. Come on. Looking good so far. Well, it's safely out of the car, out of the truck, I mean. And I've just got to position it onto these two little furniture dollies and shove it off to the side. So I'll have enough room then to straighten out the firewall. I'm going to do a little bit of trimming there on the opening down here. This has to get cleaned up, and because I had to cut this out a little bit further than normal. So I can get that done. We can mount this swivel bracket for the steering column, and it's just a matter of welding onto the frame this L bracket that I made. And then now it'll just be clear for more sanding. So I think I'm going to end this video. It's been way too much sanding crap, and it's pretty boring as far as I'm sure that you're concerned. I still have to do the back end, and let me just get around here. The back end, where I talked about earlier, I'm gonna just the back of the cab mainly. We'll get the truck out here in the open so I can get the top. What I did was I wire wheeled all of the jams, clean them up. I'm gonna put that rust reducer and eliminator converter on the jams, and then prime them with a self-etching primer, and then epoxy primer. And when we're all finished with sanding, we can then put on everything with urethane primer. So that's what's in store for the project. I don't know how much of that I'm going to make a film, but yeah, we'll continue on. Things are shaping up. Most of the hard parts are finished. Everything has been fitted onto the engine, all the hoses. I've got new radiator hoses and power steering. Do not have a heater box that I have a heater box that came out of the truck. I'm not sure I'm going to use it, and eventually it's going to get air conditioning. And I think also my 55 Chevy, I'm going to put air conditioning too, because it's just a little bit too humid and warm in Maryland in the middle of summer. But anyway, that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe button and like button, notification button, bell, and you'll be notified when I put out some more new videos. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue on, and I'll get back to you at a later time after I get all this dirty work finished. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.